I'm going to play my Gibson Les Paul Standard Plus 120th Anniversary Edition. We're going to see if it's any good. This video isn't like other videos out there, we know, where it's like 7.5 minutes worth of docking and maybe a minute worth of playing. We're going to play this quite a bit. I'll just save the yammering for later on in the video. We're definitely going to talk about the push-pulls here, and as well, we're going to do some comparisons with some like pickups, I guess you would say. So we're going to do a comparison with a P90 and a Fender single coil. And as always, the signal chain is listed in the description down below, along with the chapter markers, so you can, pop around with different times and stuff like that if you want to check out certain amps. But that's enough talking. Let's get after it. So you can't do a review on YouTube without talking about the specs, right? I'm going to try and do that as quickly as possible so we can get back to 5 more sound samples. So we have a modern weight-relieved slab of mahogany, along with a carved quadruple A flamed maple top. We have a mahogany neck with the 60s profile, so it's sort of like a slim taper. However, this one here has an asymmetrical carve to it. So what that means is on the thumb side it's thicker, and on the bottom of your hand side it is thinner. We also have a bound rosewood fretboard. However, this one here does not have the nubs on the end. Now, this is not a refret or anything like that. This was advertised for this version as to give you a little more play in the frets. We have the inlaid Gibson logo with the silkscreen Les Paul logo, and of course, the truss rod cover says standard. We also have locking Grover Roto Grip tuners. They actually have the Keystone tuning pegs. We have 2 volume and 2 tone, and just like the classics, moderns, and the Supremes of the current era, it's the same kind of thing. So we have coil tap rather than coil split on the volumes for the bridge and the neck. In the tone for the neck, it is an out of phase switch. So if you have both pickups engaged, so if it's in the middle position, you pull that up, you'll get an out of phase sound. And then of course we have the direct input to the bridge. So some people call it the hot wire. I think it's just a direct input. Now, just like the classic here, that means that we are looking at PCB connections rather than hand soldering. And there's no orange drop capacitors, but to be honest, most people don't use their tone controls. And if they do, some people don't even hear the difference, whether it's, you know, certain capacitor types. We also have a 3-way toggle switch, which controls the Burstbucker Pro pickups. Now, I've read this as the Burstbucker Pros. I've read it as the Burstbucker Pro and the Burstbucker Pro Plus, which is currently what's on the Modern and the Supreme. And I've read this as the Burstbucker Pro 1 and Burstbucker Pro 2. They could be all the same. I'm not really sure. And to cap things off here and shut me up for the time being, we have a Tone Pros 2-pneumatic and a stop bar. This is a Nashville style. But that's enough talking. Here's 5 more sound samples. Now that we've heard those 5 sound samples, I do have to appease some people here. What a lot of people will request is that we hear the bridge, the middle, and the neck in clean. So here is that. Personally, I've always preferred hearing them with just a little bit of like light drive. So let's hear the exact same thing with a little bit of light drive. And I stated earlier that we have 2 volume and 2 tone. They are, I believe, Gibson branded. They don't look to be the CTS pots that are on the classic. But let's go ahead and take a listen to some knob turning here. Now we're going to get into a quick comparison after this. However, I do want to take a quick like A-B kind of a deal with the Coil taps. So let's go ahead and listen to those. Now let's go ahead and put the guitar in the middle position. That way we can hear the out of phase sound. So basically they'll be out of phase with each other. You do get a slight different sound when you have it engaged when you're in the bridge or the neck position, but the true out of phase sound is in the middle position. And now let's go ahead and quickly hear the hot rod or hot wire or direct sound. Basically, it's just slightly hotter. So let's go ahead and take a quick comparison here with the coil taps. Now, these are coil tap rather than coil split. So what a lot of people will say is, rather than sounding like a Fender single coil, it will sound more like a P90. So let's do this versus a P90 Les Paul and a Fender single coil. Now that we've heard all of those different sound samples and that quick comparison with the coil tap, P90, and then the Fender single coil, the comparison that I want to do now, and it's the only guitar to guitar comparison I really want to do here, is with the Standard Plus's counterpart. Well, one of the counterparts. So right here we have the Gibson Les Paul Standard plus the 120th anniversary. But we do have the Gibson Les Paul Standard Traditional 120th anniversary here as well. There are some absolutely major differences. I'll go over it very quickly, but look forward to a full comparison video later on. But the Traditional is basically what they now have as the Gibson Les Paul Standard 50s, albeit with a few little differences here, basically the pickups. But the Gibson Les Paul Standard Plus is not the Standard 60s that you may think it is. The Standard 60s does not have weight relief in it. It is a non-weight relief guitar. It definitely has different pickups, but the 50s has different pickups than the Traditional. It does not have the asymmetrical neck carve, and it doesn't have locking tuners. And as well, when it comes to the binding here, there's nubs on it on the 60s, not on the Standard Plus. There's nubs here on the Traditional here as well. So technically, this would more likely be the what they currently have as the Modern, although with a slightly different look, and the neck heel is extremely different. But when it comes to the Traditional to the Standard Plus, good Lord, the Traditional is much, much, much heavier. Again, like I said, it has the nubs on the Traditional. It doesn't have the nubs on the Standard Plus. And as far as the neck carves go, they are majorly different. We have the 50s baseball neck here on the Traditional, whereas we have the 60s slim taper profile, but again, like I said, it's asymmetrical. So your thumb, the thumb side is a lot thicker than the bottom of the hand side. But let's go ahead and listen to a bridge, middle, and then neck comparison between both of these guitars. All right, so now that we've heard all of the sound samples, I'm not gonna play any more for this video here. I do want to talk about whether or not I think this is a good guitar. And spoiler alert, it is a great guitar, at least to me. I did have a little bit of trouble kind of acclimating myself to this guitar because it is a little heavier than your regular weight relieved Les Pauls. And I'm someone that much prefers non-weight relieved guitars over the weight relief ones. So just as an example here, I have a 2013 Gibson Les Paul Studio. That has the same weight relief as the Standard Plus here. And the Standard Plus is definitely heavier. Not crazy heavier, but it is noticeably heavier. Again, not as heavy as the non-weight relieved Les Pauls though. So that paired with the asymmetrical neck carve just threw me off a little bit when I first had it. Now, it basically took me just switching amps and spending more than, like 20 minutes with the guitar for me to fully and completely, absolutely bond with it. However, like I said, it took me a little bit of time to get things going. Now, a lot of that had to do with string height. And there wasn't as much relief in this. The neck was perfectly straight on this, which to most guitar players, they know that that's not how it should be. It should have the ever slightest bow in the neck. So that coupled with the string height, once I made those adjustments, that's really when this guitar started to shine to me. And of course, it doesn't hurt that it has a beautiful quadruple A flame top. Now, as an example, the traditional has a double A flame top. My standard 50s is the limited edition triple A flame top, and here is the quadruple A flame top. There are definitely higher tops. There are Cinco de Mayo flame tops, so there's 5 A's in that baby. What would that be, quintuple? But the top itself does not affect playability. Don't make that mistake. It is just beautiful to look at, and sometimes, depending on my color blindness, may look fantastic in videos. And as far as the coil taps, the out of phase sound, and then the direct bridge, I won't use those. I don't use those at all on my Classic. I don't use the coil taps on either of my studios. It's just something that it's nice to have as an option, but I never use them. And as I stated earlier, this baby's got locking tuners. Big plus, right? I'm at a stage right now where I feel a weird vibration when I play with locking tuners. So if I'm playing leads, it just feels a little more dull to me and not as crisp. That could have to do with the bridge, but to be honest, I've swapped out my locking tuners on my custom for non-locking tuners, the exact same ones, and the crispness returned. It sounded like I said Christmas. But all in all, this is an absolute joy to play, and I'm very, very fortunate to own this along with all the other gear that I own. It definitely could use a non-weight relieved mahogany slab underneath this beautiful carved top. But I think the fact that it is a slightly heavier stock of mahogany, I guess, that was used here, that really does work in its benefit, at least for me. And the asymmetrical neck, I am getting used to. It's not something that completely throws me off, but it is nice to have, but it's also nice to go back to like the 50s baseball. Anyway, thanks for watching.